Everything looked perfect on the surface, until one decision changed everything. Fans woke up to shocking whispers that Hudson and Rex might never return for season 9. And the reason pointed straight to the unthinkable John Reardon being pushed out of the series. What happened behind closed doors that could tear down a show millions love? Let's dive into the story that has everyone talking. From the very beginning, Hudson and Rex stood out from typical police dramas. It wasn't just the crime solving, the chases, or the mysteries that kept viewers glued to the screen. It was the bond and unusual, heartwarming partnership between Detective Charlie Hudson and a loyal canine named Rex. The chemistry between man and dog wasn't just entertaining, it felt real, almost like watching two best friends who trusted each other with their lives. And at the center of that chemistry was John Reardon, the actor who brought Charlie Hudson to life with calm confidence and charm. Over the years, the show built a community of fans who found joy in its lighter tone compared to darker crime dramas. Families watched it together. Dog lovers adored it. Viewers felt safe knowing that every episode ended with justice served and a tender moment between Hudson and Rex. In many ways, the show became a comfort series, a place people returned to when they wanted something warm, steady, and familiar. And because of that, John Reardon became more than just a lead actor. He became the steady heart of the show. But what made the success of Hudson and Rex even more impressive was how it managed to grow and stay strong across multiple seasons. While many series struggle after their first few years, this show kept gaining new fans. Each season added new cases, new personal challenges, and deeper stories between the characters. Reardon's performance played a key role in maintaining that balance. He wasn't just acting, he felt like a natural fit for the role, and viewers trusted him as the seasons went on. The bond between Hudson and Rex deepened. Audiences loved seeing how Rex responded to every emotion on Hudson's face, how he ran into danger without a second thought, and how Hudson always put Rex first in every tough situation. The relationship felt almost symbolic, representing loyalty, teamwork, and the idea that sometimes the strongest connections don't need words. Whenever Reardon appeared in interviews or behind-the-scenes clips, he spoke warmly about working with his canine co-stars. Fans loved hearing that he treated Rex not just as a co-worker, but as a friend. Because of this deep connection, the idea of changing anything about the show, especially the lead role, felt unthinkable to the audience. Hudson wasn't just another detective character, he was the emotional anchor of the entire story. Without him, the show's identity would be shaken at its core. And that's exactly why the recent rumors hit fans so hard. The idea that John Reardon could be fired felt not only shocking but almost impossible to imagine. Yet even before the rumors became loud enough to spread, some fans noticed small changes, delays in production updates, unusual silence on social media, fewer interviews, posts that felt carefully worded instead of friendly and casual. These little hints made some people wonder if something wasn't quite right behind the scenes. But nobody expected the rumors to explode into claims that the show might actually lose its leading man. For many viewers, Reardon's presence is what gives the series its soul. The connection between Hudson and Rex is more than a storyline, it's the foundation that holds the show together. So when whispers began suggesting that he might be forced out, fans were left shocked, confused, and afraid of what it could mean for the future of Hudson and Rex. After all, how could a show built on a partnership survive without one half of that bond? Long before any official news broke, something in the world of Hudson and Rex began to feel different. It started quietly, almost unnoticed, like a small crack forming in a window that had always been crystal clear. Fans who followed the show closely sensed that the usual positive energy around the cast wasn't as bright as before. Interviews became shorter, promotional posts felt less personal. Even John Reardon, who often shared warm messages with viewers, began posting less and less. At first, people brushed it off as normal, but these subtle signs slowly built a sense of unease that couldn't be ignored. What made everything more suspicious was the sudden silence from the production team. In past years, updates about new episodes, filming schedules, and cast photos were released with excitement. But this time, everything felt locked behind a door no one was allowed to open. Delays were explained with vague comments about scheduling issues or creative adjustments. But none of it sounded convincing. The lack of clarity triggered curiosity, and curiosity slowly grew into worry. Something was going on, and it wasn't good. Fans began digging deeper. They started noticing interviews where Reardon looked unusually careful with his words, as if he wanted to speak openly but couldn't. He appeared thoughtful, almost guarded, especially when asked about upcoming seasons. Instead of his usual enthusiastic tone, He used phrases like "we'll see how things go" or "I'm hopeful for what comes next." These phrases didn't sound like the confident promises of previous years. They sounded like someone walking on thin ice. Then came the moment that made everything feel real. A rumor spread online that Reardon had been in a disagreement with key members of the production team. No one knew the exact details, but the whispers pointed to arguments over the direction of the show. Some claimed he wasn't happy with major storyline changes. Others believed there were tension-filled meetings about contract extensions or creative decisions. None of this was confirmed, but when a rumor gets big enough, people start treating it like truth. Social media exploded with theories. Some fans argued that Reardon was being pushed aside so the show could take a new direction. Others believed the opposite, that he wanted the series to maintain its original heart, while the producers wanted something more dramatic and risky. Whatever the truth was, the tension behind the scenes became impossible to hide. The more fans talked, the louder the rumors grew, and soon the idea of Reardon being fired didn't seem so unbelievable anymore. It began to feel like a storm everyone could feel coming, even if no one could see it yet. As the debate spread, the cast and crew stayed silent, which only fueled the fire. Official accounts avoided any mention of Season 9. The network made no announcements. Reporters who tried to ask questions received the same rehearsed message: "There are no updates at this time." That kind of silence can mean many things, but to a worried fanbase it usually means the worst. In the absence of clear answers, people began filling in the blanks themselves, creating a wave of fear that the show could be collapsing from the inside. The idea of losing Reardon didn't just upset fans, it terrified them. Charlie Hudson was not a character who could be replaced. The success of the show depended on the emotional connection between him and Rex, a connection that had been built over years. Removing Reardon would be like removing the foundation of a building and hoping it would still stand. Even people who didn't normally follow behind-the-scenes drama felt the pressure of the situation. They sensed that something big was happening, something that could change the show forever. By this point, viewers weren't just worried, they were bracing themselves. They knew that when the truth finally surfaced, it wouldn't be a small update or a simple announcement. It would be a shockwave, and deep down, many feared that the future of Hudson and Rex, a show that had brought comfort to so many, was hanging by a thread held in place only by rumors, silence, and the hope that Reardon's place in the series was safe. When the rumor finally shifted from quiet whisper to loud claim, it felt like the ground had cracked beneath the entire fan. The words spread fast: "John Reardon has been fired." At first, people refused to believe it. The idea sounded too dramatic, too destructive, too impossible for a show built on his partnership with Rex. But the more the claim circulated, the more it took on a life of its own. It didn't matter that no one had seen an official announcement. The rumor had already become a story. And the story moved with the force of a storm. The first spark came from a small online post that suggested Reardon was no longer on set. It didn't offer proof, just an anonymous message from someone claiming to have inside knowledge. Normally, fans ignore such posts. But in this case, the timing matched the strange silence and delays that had been building for months. It connected too perfectly, and that connection made the claim feel believable. People began sharing it, discussing it, questioning it, and very quickly, it became more than just a rumor, it became a headline. Soon after, bigger online pages began repeating the story. They didn't confirm it, but by simply talking about it, they added weight to the idea. They pointed to every clue that fans had already noticed: Reardon's reduced social presence, production's lack of updates, the odd interviews, the tension that seemed to be creeping around the edges of every public appearance. These weren't proof, but when placed together, they painted a picture that was hard to ignore. The public started to accept the possibility that something serious had happened behind the scenes. Then social media erupted. Fans poured in with shock, fear, and outrage. Many wrote long posts explaining how the show wouldn't survive without Reardon. Others talked about how the bond between Hudson and Rex was too strong to break. Some accused the producers of destroying their own series by letting go of the actor, who carried the emotional weight of every episode. The discussions grew so big that even people who didn't watch the show became curious. The controversy had turned Hudson and Rex into a trending topic. What made everything more dramatic was the complete silence from everyone involved with the show. No cast member posted anything. No producer clarified the situation. The network didn't even offer a simple, "the rumor is false." This silence made fans feel ignored, and that frustration quickly turned into anger. People wanted answers, but all they received were more questions. Why would a show with such a strong fan base lose its lead actor? Why wasn't anyone explaining what was happening? Why did everything feel hidden? Naturally, theories grew more extreme. Some said Reardon was fired after a disagreement over future storylines. Others believed the conflict was financial, involving contract negotiations that fell apart. A few even suggested that certain members of the production wanted a complete shift for season 9, one that didn't include Hudson as the main focus. Every theory added fuel to the fire. None of them were confirmed, but they spread quickly because they filled the empty space left by the show's silence. As days passed, fans started organizing themselves. They began posting under hashtags demanding answers. People wrote messages begging the network to keep Reardon. Some shared emotional stories about how the show helped them through hard times and how losing him would feel like losing a friend. Others threatened to stop watching the show entirely if the rumor turned out to be true. The tone of the community changed from confusion to a full loud protest. The most shocking part came when several fan pages started announcing that they had heard from trusted sources that season 9 was already in trouble because of internal conflicts. According to these claims, the show struggled to plan new episodes without Reardon, and discussions about rewriting the direction of the series had become tense and complicated. Whether these claims were accurate or not didn't matter, people believed them, because they matched the growing fear that the heart of the show had been damaged beyond repair. By the time the rumor reached its peak, it no longer felt like a suggestion but a breaking point. Fans didn't ask whether Reardon had been fired, they asked why. They didn't wonder if the show would continue, they worried how it possibly could. The story had grown so large, so emotional, so tangled in fan passion and silence from the creators, that the future of Hudson and Rex felt more uncertain than ever. As the rumor of John Reardon's firing spread across every fan forum and social page, the conversation shifted from shock to fear. People no longer asked whether the rumor was true, they started asking what it meant. And almost immediately, the biggest question rose to the surface. What happens to season 9? For a show built entirely on the bond between Hudson and Rex, the idea of continuing without Charlie Hudson felt almost impossible. This wasn't a series where the lead actor could quietly disappear in a few scenes and return later. John Reardon was the center point of every storyline. Removing him wasn't a small change. It was a direct hit to the structure of the show. Then came the next wave of online stories, each claiming that season 9 had already run into major trouble. Some posts suggested that the writing team was being forced to rethink entire episodes. Others claimed that production meetings had become tense and emotional, with team members disagreeing on whether the show should move forward or pause until the situation settled. These inside details were never verified, but they spread quickly because fans were desperate to understand what was happening. Every new rumor added more pressure to the idea that season 9 was falling apart behind closed doors. As more days passed, something even more worrying began to happen. The usual signs of a returning season simply didn't show up. There were no casting calls, no set photos, no excited posts from crew members, no production hints, nothing. Shows normally drop tiny updates months before filming begins, but this time, the silence felt heavier than before. It gave the impression that everything had come to a standstill. People began posting long threads explaining how this lack of activity could only mean one thing: season 9 was not moving forward. This brought a new wave of fear. If Reardon was truly gone, could the network even justify continuing? Fans argued endlessly online. Some believed the show could survive with a new detective, maybe someone who could develop a different partnership with Rex. But these opinions were rare, almost drowned by stronger voices insisting that Hudson was irreplaceable. The show wasn't just about solving crimes, it was about the trust between Hudson and Rex. Trying to rebuild that with a new actor felt like trying to replace the heartbeat of the series. As pressure increased, fans grew more emotional. They created petitions demanding transparency from the network. They begged the producers to clear the air and confirm whether the rumors were false. Dozens of posts tagged the official accounts, but received no reply. The silence from the people in charge was the loudest message of all. When viewers feel ignored, their imagination fills the gaps. And the gap here was huge, big enough to make everyone fear the worst. Interestingly, some fans tried to stay hopeful. They argued that maybe the team was taking extra time to plan a powerful comeback, or that the silence meant something big was being negotiated behind the scenes. But even those hopeful voices admitted that the tone of the situation felt wrong. Hope alone wasn't enough to overpower the spreading belief that season 9 was either at risk or already cancelled. As the controversy grew, discussions around the industry began to emerge. Analysts and TV commentators shared opinions about the situation. explaining how central cast members are often the deciding factor in whether a show continues. They reminded audiences that once the lead actor leaves, especially in a character-driven program, it becomes extremely difficult for producers to maintain the same energy, the same mood, the same emotional attachment. This analysis worried fans even more, because it aligned perfectly with what they had been fearing. The show might not be able to continue without Reardon. Soon, the phrase Season 9 cancelled began appearing online more and more often. Some posts claimed that the decision had already been made and that the network was delaying the announcement to avoid backlash. Others insisted that Season 9 wasn't cancelled but frozen until the drama settled. With no official word, the debate continued endlessly, turning into a cloud of confusion that hung over every fan discussion. By this point, the identity of the show felt fragile, as if it was one announcement away from falling apart completely. The idea of losing Hudson and Rex after such a successful run was painful for longtime viewers, especially those who had formed emotional ties to the characters over the years. People wondered whether this was truly the end, or if the show still had a chance at survival. But the truth remained the same. Without clarity, without answers, without John Reardon's confirmed return, the future of Season 9 seemed to be slipping away day by day in the minds of many fans. The show wasn't just paused, it was hanging on the edge, waiting for one final decision that could either save it or silence it forever.